It's thanks for joining us today. This is going to be great. AI is kind of, it's all in our forefront of our minds, and there's a lot going on. But this is something a lot of us here and people will be joining today. Really, either they're managing properties themselves, they're having somebody else manage them, which is good too, or they're just looking at getting them managed. So I think that's the people that are actually joining us today. And I'm glad. I know you're on the forefront of this, Brian, and I'm glad you could join us. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. It looks like we got Alicia McGee who wants to let her in. Sure, I'm happy to get started now. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful, beautiful day. Little hot, so maybe stay inside. So as John was saying, I'm Bryan Edelman. I run a company called Landlord Ops. It's essentially AI-powered property management to help you reclaim your time and your money from the noise of rental management. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today here. Everything from what's going on with AI, what's going on with rental management, and how you can save time and money and hopefully not be a 24/7 emergency room doctor. I will make that joke again with beepers. It's just a time that I would not like us to go back to. So, unless you want to watch old episodes of ER with George Clooney, which we all can these days, let's keep beepers in the past. Oh, there you go. So, I like to start with who's this presentation for, as John was saying. The world's getting more expensive. With every bomb that drops, with every dollar that gets printed, your dollar is worth a lot less. Everything just keeps going up. So I like to talk about the revenue-minded landlords, which I think all of us probably are, in a world that's getting more expensive. So if you've ever dreaded an 11 p.m. text from a tenant, because they expect you to be on 24/7, like, George Clooney, ER doctor, or Grey's Anatomy, or House, or pick whatever your medical drama is, but you're not that. If you've ever worried about how to cut costs or lower overheads, you can make more money from your rentals. Or if you've ever been concerned about tenants who just need that extra push constantly or won't pay on time, this presentation is for you. And the software that I've built, because I build Landlord Ops, is something that is built for you. And I'll get into who I am now, because you're probably thinking, who is this, great, very funny friend of John Lee? Unlike John Lee's probably very close brother, Bruce Lee, because I know they look so similar. I'm Bryan Edelman. That's my very stupid joke about Bruce Lee, because I love good martial arts movies. I'm Bryan Edelman. I have worked in software and automation for about 20 years now. I'm an AI patent author, so I've been working on this now for about 7 years, both for my own companies, for other venture-backed companies, with TD Ameritrade, which now owned by Schwab. The patent that I worked on is owned by Schwab. I've sold technology that I've built to NBA teams, NHL, in Madison Square Garden. I've had my own personal laptop connected to the Jumbotron in Madison Square Garden. And that was the most nerve-wracking 15 minutes of my entire life. I'll tell that story later. I've had rentals. My parents have had rentals. My brother has rentals. Rentals and real estate run in my family. I just happen to be the one who also works in software and saw we were doing all the same stuff over and over and over again. People asking the same questions, the same problems coming up. And whenever I see stuff like that, like my brain starts going. My sense kind of ticks in, if you like Spider-Man. And I think, well, how can we automate this? How can we not do this over and over again? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result, that's insanity. So let's try to decrease that. Let's try to get our time back. And the best way to do this is with automation. So start with just some data. People love good data. McKinsey's a global consulting firm. They've put out multiple reports over the past several years. This one is from less than 1 year ago with real data that they found in the field from June of 2025. They found that AI, artificial intelligence, can automate up to 72%, and I actually think this number is low. 72% of all administrative tasks can be automated with AI. That's not just real estate. That's all administrative tasks. That's tasks across legal, any other industry where you've got people working in admin roles. 72% or more of that, almost three-quarters of them can be automated. And you can either be the landlord that's doing it manually, or you can use tools, use AI, use what you can in the year 2026 instead of being, back in the age of the beeper. McKinsey's not the only people who know this. Landlord or property managers know this too. This is a picture that I took on the right here from a presenter at an event I went to 3 weeks ago. I went to Lee Fjord's Tours and Pours. Lee Fjord's a great guy. He's a good friend. And they had these two property managers on stage. The one guy on the right, he was talking about we're going to use AI to increase our units under management from 2 to 250 up to like 400, 600. We think we're going to 2x, 3x the number of units that we can manage. And the guy in the middle said, I kind of couldn't believe he said this. If I knew he was going to say it, I would have recorded it with my phone instead of just taking a picture. He said, you have no idea how low the bar is for property management. So whether you're doing it yourself or you're paying a property manager, you have no idea how low the bar is. And he said within 12 months, AI will be able to do 95% of property management. Now, I agree with a lot of what he said, but the one part I don't agree with, because I've worked in AI now for about 7 years, worked on AI patents, it's not 12 months from now. It's not March 2027 that this is going to take place. It's March 2025. It's a year ago. Like we could have been doing this a year ago. I know this because I started building Landlord Ops almost a year ago. Those property managers aren't the only one who know this. There are PMs out there who are already using AI. They're the big property management corporate firms. They're not kind of your smaller outfits. They're the big ones who are handling thousands at a time. And they use AI for multiple things that allows them to lower their costs by about 30%. I actually think that number is kind of low too. I think they can lower their costs even more than that. So they've got corporate AI bots that can answer leads in less than 2 minutes, any time of the day or night, 24/7. Doesn't matter if it's a holiday, doesn't matter if it's 3 in the morning. They'll qualify and schedule prospects before you, the mom and pop kind of landlord who's just got a small portfolio, before you can even see a notification, they've already got them locked in. So in these days, when AppFolio even says the response time needs to be about 70%, within an hour, that response time, 70% of renters expect that. They want to be able to get a response quickly. Our attention spans are low. You can blame that on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever you want. Probably our phones more than anything, but people want responses quickly. So AppFolio says it themselves, meeting that under 1 hour response time, that's how you get good renters. Otherwise, they're moving on. Large firms are also figuring out, like airlines can, if there's enough kind of demand, we can do surge pricing. We can increase our revenue by 3 to 7% compared to static manual pricing. And this is from RealPage that most independent landlords do just by having an AI model that's there checking for, well, how many people want to actually rent this unit? How much demand is it? Can I increase the price and still get people to be engaged and interested? Maintenance. They're batching maintenance together, predictive, proactive maintenance using AI models because they know when a water heater went in, they know when another fixture went in or appliance. So instead of worrying about when there is an issue, they proactively are fixing these things so that there isn't an emergency cost. Because when there is an emergency, you tend to pay more money than if you're just maintaining things. I always like to talk about a bridge. If you keep a bridge up with maintenance and you check on it once a year or a few times a year and make sure the bridge won't collapse, it's much less worse than when the bridge collapses. When there's a catastrophic failure, that's when issues happen. And then there's also risk. Using AI models to screen tenants is able to get better tenants, spot identity fraud faster, figure out if they're a professional squatter. You can flag those high risk indicators faster and better and more empirically with real data than just, the gut feel. Like, oh, I got a good feeling about this person. That's great. What does their background check say? If you're not going to be able to review the whole thing, AI can review it like that. And that's from TransUnion. And the other question I like to ask is, and feel free to put this in the chat, when these property managers are using this tech to lower their costs by 30%, do you think they're going to pass along those savings to you? Like, do you think they're going to lower their fee? John's not in here. No. Yeah, they're not gonna. If anything, going back to those guys a couple of slides ago who said, well, we're going to be able to automate 95% of property management. One of the guys said, I want to buy a Rolex. Who's going to fund that Rolex? Their management fees. There are great PMs out there, but if you can do 95% of it yourself, why are you paying this management fee? Now, let's just take an example rental. So 10% management fee comes right off the top. Let's say we've got a rental that's $2,000. Traditional property management makes it really hard to grow. You're trying to grow and scale up a business. But that 10% isn't really 10%. If it's 10% of $2,000, it's $200 a month after your insurance, your mortgage, because if you're doing a DSCR, that's actually 40%. So almost half of every dollar is just going right out the door. How are you going to build and scale a business if almost half of every dollar is not going in your pocket? And the other thing I like to ask is, for a property for a unit that rents out at $2,000 a month versus $1,500 a month, do you think the management is really that much different between these two units? Do you think that really justifies charging more because a unit costs $2,000 versus $1,500, $1,200 to rent out? Probably not. I'd be very surprised. There might be special circumstances, but let's use that 95% again. 95% of the time, probably not. So it makes it even harder for you to grow your business. Let's see. Someone said, yeah, Dana and James said, no way they're not going to give you that fee. They're not going to cut you a deal. They're not going to take it down from 10% to 5%. We can do two or three times this number of units. If we're going to cut your fee in half, you think you're going to get that email or phone call? I wouldn't bet on it. So here are some of those pains of landlording. Here are some of those time-consuming tasks that property manager was talking about, the 95%. Here's some of them. Of course, there's some other stuff too, but here's the general stuff you're going to do. Setting up repairs, screening tenants, collecting rent, or reminding people. Maybe there's that tenant who just happens to forget that they're owing you rent every single month. That's definitely a thing that happens. I talk to my landlords about. Or responding to tenant texts. This is that 24/7 ER doctor problem. That's the beeper problem. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, God forbid, 1 a.m. Someone's texting you. And I'll take this from another property manager I know. He said, Bryan, there really aren't emergencies that need your attention. Like most things can wait until the next day. And if it is a real emergency, I'm not the one who can solve this. The fire department can. Or hopefully they're not calling the police for something, but that's something you call emergency services for if it's a real emergency. Your landlord is not going to be able to help you put out a fire from far away. Call the fire department. So let's just go into some of the things you've probably heard before. We got to start here at level one, and we'll go to the next part, which will be the very exciting part. But bunch of problems we can use AI for. This is stuff you can do right now. You've got a listing on Zillow. The listing is very kind of simple, straightforward, doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, not really telling the story of your unit. Just says, two bed, one bath, Section 8, okay, $1,000 a month. That doesn't really work these days. That's a little boring, not a lot of engagement. It's just a commodity. That's just something everybody can get. There's nothing there. So let's just use an AI model to make this better. I'm going to use Gemini here. You can see in the bottom right. We're going to list there what the AI model is, the AI app. And this is generative AI. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a few slides. But let's just remember, this is generative AI. We are creating things from not much, some context of what's going on. As you can see here, I dropped 10 images into this AI model, Gemini, and I just said, all right, write a luxury listing description for this address. It rents out for $1,900 a month. And, based on these photos, like I'm not even going to write out the whole thing. Just here are these images. I want you to look at them, Gemini, and I want you to give me a good description. And here it is. I got this spit out in like 10, 15 seconds. You know, from here, this is a good start. If it doesn't say exactly what the unit has in it, if it's not 100% correct, this is at least a good starting point to go from. This was generated, created. But remember, I had to have those pictures. I had to feed them into Gemini. I had to ask it for exactly what I wanted and then take whatever the result was, copy and paste it, maybe edit it, and put it into Zillow. So I definitely got some help here with the thinking time. The doing time, not so much. Another problem, and this is where I'm going to want a little bit of audience participation if you can. I don't know if you've ever gotten this text before, but it's Friday night, it's 9:15. Maybe you're still up and unwinding. Maybe you're getting to bed because you got to be up early Saturday morning. You're going to go fishing. Like I know John's going to go fishing after this, which it does sound pretty nice. I'm going to do some fly fishing this weekend. You get a text from a tenant, and the text says, the heat's out again. Definitely not occurring right now in this 90-degree weather, but the heat's out again. It's freezing in here. I am not paying rent until you fix this piece of junk house. Call me now. I don't know if you've ever gotten something like this. There's a lot of emotion there, a little bit of a legal threat, perhaps. It could ruin your night. And the more time that you wait to respond to this, the angrier this person gets, the worse the situation can be. It escalates. So there's a clock that starts. There's a countdown clock or a timer, rather. The faster I respond, the better it's going to be. If you let me know quickly in the chat, how would you respond to this? I'll show you what an AI model could help me produce, but how would you respond if you got a tenant saying something like this? I think the first thing is obviously you cannot withhold rent just because, something breaks. That's definitely going against your lease, but we'll get into that. So let's use ChatGPT here, just another AI app. We used Gemini before, we're going to use ChatGPT now. This is again another generative AI application. So here's what I put in. I gave some context and I copy and pasted the message in here. Oh yeah. Oh, Lois says check the battery in the thermostat. Oh, that's a good start. We still got to worry about the whole, hey, can't withhold rent, but I like that. That's a good thought. That's a problem solving kind of thought. Oh, so I got this chat. I have so many windows up now. I have chat and everything. So here's what I fed into ChatGPT. It's Friday night after 9. I just got a message from my tenant. I want you to write a reply to them because maybe I'm not in my best state. Maybe I'm going to bed. Maybe I've had a glass of wine and I just want to, have an even keeled response. I want you to be empathetic about the heat, but firm on the policy that rent cannot be withheld. Here's what they said: the heat is out again, so on and so forth. So let's see what ChatGPT spit out. This is a nice, empathetic, but firm, pretty low bar to make sure, hey, you got to pay your rent. You can't just withhold the rent because you feel like it. But it's this empathetic, policy-driven response, as in leasing policy, response that you could copy and paste and send to your tenant. I understand how upsetting it is to lose heat, and I'm sorry this is happening. I'll take care of arranging a repair as soon as possible. However, the rent cannot be withheld. We'll get the heat issue resolved, the rent is still due. I'll update you shortly with repair details. That's a nice kind of even keeled response. Not too bad. Like I said, maybe had a glass of wine or two, or maybe a whiskey. If it's a Friday night, I don't know if people like a good whiskey here, but this is a good response. But everything we just looked at, that was all generative AI. And now I'm going to explain kind of what that is. Generative AI, like I mentioned before, is kind of that thinking engine, not so much the doing engine. We still had to do everything. We still had to copy and paste those images into Gemini. We still had to prompt it as in ask it, give it context on what we actually wanted, what the result should be. The exact wording, well, you help me figure that out, but this is kind of what I want. But this generative AI helps you get information. It's very prompt driven. You have to give a lot of context. And then we take the result, we pick it up, and we move it wherever we need to. We move it into a Zillow description. We move it into a text chat with our tenant. Now I'm going to move into talking about what Landlord Ops is. So I don't love this term agentic AI, but that is what Landlord Ops does. However, there's a reason why I call it Landlord Ops and not Landlord Agent. When I think agent, I think real estate agent. I think secret agent because I like James Bond, particularly Sir Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan, although Daniel Craig is great too. Agentic AI, I like to think of it as operational AI because it's actually something that can work in your operations. It's something that can actually do things for you. It can autonomously act with as much guidance or as little guidance as you'd like it to do, as much oversight or as little oversight. Agentic AI. It is dynamically using intelligence that it can capture from the information that it's given. It knows the context of what's going on. So I don't have to give it the context. It just knows you're a leasing agent. You are my AI property manager. You are my, tenant liaison back and forth. It knows what it is. It knows the information about the tenant. It knows about their rent, when it's due, what other repairs were done. That's agentic AI. And let's dive a little bit deeper into that because ChatGPT cannot run your rentals for you. Landlord Ops is AI that can automate your rentals for you. Does a lot of these things. So bank level ACH rent transfers. We're going to get into why Zelle and Venmo, and hopefully you're not accepting checks these days, but that's still fine. I'm not going to chastise anybody for that. We're running a business here. Zelle and Venmo, weren't created or designed for that. We'll get into that more later. Landlord Ops can do things like automate your rent reminders and late fees so that people just are automatically paying. You just get a direct deposit every month as opposed to a check or opposed to worrying about, okay, well, did they pay? Did they not? Smart maintenance scheduling and tracking, auto replying to tenant questions day or night, screening those potential tenants and then seeing actually what they said to your AI agent so that if they're trying to pull one over on you, you can invalidate or validate them faster because speed is really what matters, especially in this market, especially in this world. And then, of course, insights so you know what's going on. Because I want you to grow your business. I don't want you to grow how much you have to pay to people. I don't want you to grow your payroll. There are these corporate property managers out there who are using these tools already, and those tools are really focused on them and their superpowers. They're strong weapons in the battle of landlording, and I'm just trying to give you those weapons. I'm just trying to give you those superpowers. Whatever superhero you want to be. So this is Leo. Leo is your 24/7 AI property manager, helping you professionally operate your portfolio without that 10% fee. Someone you can talk to 24/7, your leasing agent. He's your tenant communication agent. He's your first responder for where your tenants have any issues. If you have questions about your portfolio, you can ask Leo questions in a chat interface in Landlord Ops, and he'll give you that information. We'll go into that in just a second too. He doesn't always wear a flannel shirt like this, but this is how I like to think of him. So here's that landlord chat. Leo is available all the time. You can see here, these are just three windows. It's just the same chat kind of just scrolled down. I couldn't have it just, completely scrolling. So here it is from the left side to the right. The beginning of the chat says, "Hey, Brian, I'm Leo, your AI property management assistant. Here's what's going on with your properties. You have 7 properties, 86% occupancy. You've got 6 pending payments coming up for April 1st. I can help you with some PM questions, some legal questions for compliance, tenant communication so you know what's going on. Just as if I were to call my property manager and say, hey, what's up? What's going on? The only difference is I can do this at any time of the day or the night. I can do this at, you know, 8 o'clock, 7 in the morning. I can do it before maybe they're at their desk. They don't have to be awake and ready. Leo's always awake and ready. And I ask a simple question here. What's going on with my properties? What's going on with my units? Great, here's what's going on. You got one guy who hasn't paid for 25 days. Now, this is a demo chat, so don't worry about this Matt Deere guy. He doesn't exist. Um, but 25 days would be quite a lot. And Leo even mentions here, hey, that's getting into eviction territory. If he's not going to pay, we've sent him reminders already. But hey, you might want to, if you have questions about, well, what do I need to do? Check his payment history for patterns. Is there any patterns in when he pays or doesn't pay? From his tenant chat that he's been doing with Leo, from the repair issues that he's been having. What's the patterns here? Give me that in 10 seconds. I bet your property manager is not going to be able to give you that in 10 seconds if they even answer your phone call right away. Because, they're people, they got stuff to do. And of course, the upcoming payments. Here's what's going on. So it's that instant portfolio insights, it's those real-time status updates, and it's that automated maintenance memory. Leo knows about everything at a moment's notice, doesn't have to look up stuff. The lookup that he does is 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds at the most. You probably won't get a response back from a PM in 20 seconds. Or if it is, it's probably not going to be a very strong informational response. With tenants, Leo can help set up repairs in motion. I've seen tenants even thank Leo as if Leo's a real person. I mean, Leo's an AI, not a robot yet, although, maybe we'll get there someday. But Leah listens to tenant messages, classifies what's going on, what's the intent of it, updates your dashboard for repairs. If you have service team members like plumbers or electricians who you go to regularly and you want it sent out to them right away, you don't have to be that bridge, that single point of failure, that ER doctor between all these things. You can have it automatically go out to them. Maybe David's my electrician. Great. When Leo flags that there's an issue from one of my tenants, send it right out to David. And David and I can talk about it if it's something that's really valuable and important that we want to get done. Or if it's something that's small, Lois had said, check the battery in the thermostat before. Leo can tell them, hey, have you checked the battery in the thermostat? The light's out. Is there a light bulb in it? Is the light bulb out? Did you trip the breaker? some basic troubleshooting stuff that's going to save you $150 of someone going out there just to realize, oh, this thing is off. Happens more than you think. So here in the middle, every tenant in Landlord Ops has the ability to talk with Leo. Leo, of course, is automating that kind of first responder role. And when Leo flags things as, okay, this is a real repair request that really needs to be handled, hey, a tenant says to you, there's a leak. Okay, a leak where? In the kitchen? Is that from the faucet? Is that from the toilet? Is that from, like, what is that from? Instead of you having to do all that kind of information gathering, that recon, doing that reconnaissance, Leo can do that quickly. Leo responds back to tenants within 10 seconds. Like, hey, when you were saying that, what's actually going on there? Let's get the real information there so that when we get someone out there, if someone needs to go out there, they have all the information they need. We're saving time. Saving time saves money. Saving time also saves you a lot of headaches. Saves you from being that beeper doctor. I swear I'll always remember that. Leo can do some other stuff too. Leo is your 24/7 leasing agent, just like we talked about before with those property managers, those corporate PMs who are saving 30%, who are probably not going to give you that break on your management fees. They're doing this type of stuff too. In Landlord Ops, you can have your own listing page that has Leo directly on it. Leo can walk through and ask questions, both some default questions. Can tenants send a picture of an issue to Leo? Yes. Yes, and that can get sent to whoever is your service member. So if you have a plumber, it's a plumbing issue, and they send an image to Leo, that can go to that plumber as well. Leo says, "Hey, here's this information that I've got. You're the plumber. You're the guy who's got hands and can, actually change this stuff. So here's all the information." Lois had asked this question in the chat. I've got the chat up on the side here too. So if I go off on a non sequitur, it's not just bad jokes or old Don Rickles references. It's also just, seeing the chat. So this is a listing page. This is set up for a unit. And on this listing page, of course, there's all the good old fashioned good stuff, a description, a title, the actual how much is the rent, what's the security deposit, are pets allowed, what are the utilities, or, what's actually there. And of course, the images. But a lot of people don't read everything these days. They're moving pretty quick. So all this can be asked in the chat as well. If the tenant says, well, what's going on here? Is this included? Yes or no? That's all there as well. Because Leo knows about everything with your listing. It knows everything about your unit. Everything you've told it, it knows about your units. And whenever a prospective tenant comes through, of course, you want to pre-screen them. You want to qualify them. Do you actually have the income for this? Is your credit score where it needs to be? Do you have pets? Are you a smoker? Do you have any lawsuits against you? A lot of questions you might ask. There's some default ones. And then you can ask as many questions as you want. You can tell Leo, I want to ask about X, Y, and Z. Great. It'll be a part of it before a prospective tenant can book a potential tour. And what does that look like? Basically, when they go through the whole process and they set up a tour, and Leo says he's validated them and said, yeah, this person's probably worth another look, to at least check out the place. You get that as a transcript. This gets emailed to you, the whole thing. Hi, I'm Leo. When do you want to move in? Great. Do you have any pets? What's your credit score? It's pretty good. And Leo will sometimes ask more questions like, well, is it within this range, that range? What's your phone number? Obviously, here it's Mr. John Bon Jovi, United States National Treasure. Listen to Living on a Prayer today. It's a great song. All this is given to you in an email. So you're able to see everything. If a tenant is going to mess around with an AI agent and try to trick it or deceive it, you get to see that. Like all of that is sent directly to you. And you probably don't want someone who's going to mess around with an AI agent like that and try to get past some things. So it's a bit of a litmus test for them too. You want to see, like, is this someone who I actually want in my property that I've paid my hard-earned money for, put down a down payment on, gotten a great DSCR loan with the help of a good friend of mine, Jack Lucky. If you're looking for DSCR, he's your great guy. This is all given to you. And what does it look like on the tenant side, the prospective tenant? Well, you get an email that says, hey, there was a tour scheduled. Here's their contact information. It's just a V card you basically tap on in an email, adds it to your phone, gives you the person's name, their phone number, what unit they were looking at, any information there from the chat, just some basic stuff about their income, their credit score, anything you might have asked them in that Leo chat. And they get an email that says, hey, great, your tour was scheduled. The landlord needs to reach out to you. We're going to finalize it because you get the final say, of course, always, as the landlord. You're in control here. But that's what you see, and that's what they see. So Leo's just handling all that back and forth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because, like that information before with those corporate PMs, speed's important. Speed is of the essence. If you're not able to get them within an hour, they're probably looking somewhere else. Someone who has responded to them in an hour. So if you're not able to even see that notification on your phone when someone texts you, hey, is this available? They're probably already moving on. So Leo's there as your 24/7 leasing agent to ask all these questions, pre-validate and pre-qualify these people so you're not wasting time because you're at the end of the day, you're only renting to one person, or one family. But how many people are going to reach out to you? A lot more people than who you're actually going to rent to. What percentage? It's in the single digits of percentage as far as people reach out to you. If 50 people reach out to you, there's only a small percentage of them who are getting through. So why waste time on all those additional ones who are just asking those same questions over and over and over again? This is why I got into this. Because I saw this thing, this problem. I had seen it in my stuff, my brother's stuff, my parents' stuff. And it's the same problem over and over again. I don't like when it's the same problem over and over again. So let's just walk into a little bit of how Leo handles this stuff. Just not super technical, not super heady, just in basic terms. Leo does all this within about 10 to 15 seconds. Depending on what it is, 10 to 15 seconds. So a tenant will message, that message gets received, whether it's you messaging Leo or a prospective tenant messaging Leo or an actual tenant who's in one of your units. Leo is an AI who can understand all this very quickly. He is trained specifically on these types of issues as a leasing agent, as your property management agent, as your assistant in understanding what's going on with your rentals. Figures it out, figures out, well, what's the next step? Is it just sending a message back to the tenant? Is it actually starting to get a repair going or starting to think, okay, there's an issue here. I probably need to start getting this information together so that I can eventually kick it out to a service team member. And then, okay, if it is an issue that needs to be resolved by someone, physically going to the property, let's send it out to those people. If there already are service team members listed on the landlord's account, or, we'll flag it for the landlord and then give them some options on who they can reach out to. And then the owner, of course, gets all this insight. The owner knows everything that's going on. You, the landlord, get all of this information. So nothing's hidden from you. It's all there for you. Leo is your assistant. Leo can be your frontline first defender, first responder for your tenants. But at the end of the day, Leo works for you. That's what he's designed to do. That's what he's trained to do. Just like if you hired someone to be your virtual assistant or your, in-person physical assistant, they are trained to help you. The only difference is Leo never sleeps. Leo doesn't go off the rails. Leo doesn't have any personal goals, besides just helping you. Leo doesn't have his own rent. Leo doesn't have to eat. Leo doesn't have to sleep. That's how he's able to respond in 10 seconds or less. Now, of course, with automation, you really want oversight. You don't want it to just be a black box where you can't see what's going on. So in Landlord Ops, there's an entire dashboard that just shows you what Leo did this week in an email that gets sent to you every week or however often you want, really, of what Leo did. Who did Leo talk to? What got created? What repair tickets got created? What types of communications were there? What rent reminders got sent out? How much time did it save me? Which, of course, the more units you have and the more challenges come up, the more time gets saved. So all of this is visible to you at all times within Landlord Ops. I literally just took a screenshot of it. Everything you're seeing, by the way, is just screenshots, pictures that I just took of the product and just dropped them straight in. It looks just like this. Like none of this is photoshopped, none of this is edited. This is all just here it is straight from Landlord Ops, copy and paste with a couple little text things on the bottom or the top. That's about it. So being able to see this automation, that's how you're going to win in these types of markets where your dollars are worth less, where tenants are stretched a bit thin, and you want to make sure that you're not giving away almost half of every dollar. And it's not just when you're managing your units, you're going to want to be looking at, of course, as you grow your business. My goal is for you to grow your portfolio. I want you to be able to have more units. You have more units, you have more prosperity, you make more money. But analyzing these deals, for DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loans, can take some time. You get better at it over time, of course, as you're looking at it, but it still takes a good amount of time. Leo has the ability to just take a link from a listing. You see a Zillow listing you like? Great. Copy and paste it directly into your, hit a button in 20 seconds. You'll get a basic response. Is this a decent deal that's worth taking a look at? Or is this something you should stay very far, very, very far away from? As John Lee, and his brother Bruce Lee has said many times, yeah, he's nodding. Yeah, Bruce Lee. I want to hear your best Bruce Lee like yell. His like, I'm not gonna. He's like the wah. Anyways, I love Bruce Lee movies. It's not the deals necessarily. The best deals are sometimes the deals you didn't do. And you want to invalidate those things quickly. So 20 seconds is great. It's better than, several hours or hopefully not days or a week. In markets, you got to move fast if it's something that's good. And if it's something that's bad, you really want to invalidate that quickly and get it out of the way. Your time is valuable. So the deal analyzer here is asking Leo about a potential DSCR deal. Put in a link, hit a button. Are you doing short-term rentals? You can optimize for that too. Give you all the information. All the information that's in that listing can be analyzed immediately without you typing it in, without calculators, without any of that. You can just do it right away. 20 seconds. Better than 20 minutes, better than 20 hours. Hopefully not 20 hours, but you get what I'm saying. Of course, sometimes there are tenants who forget that they got to pay their rent. And sometimes they need a bit of reminders. Some need more reminders than others. And you can set up individually for each tenant. Maybe someone pays on time all the time. And you're just like, great, just the day before, here's the link, or 7 days before, here's the link for your payments. Because we are going to get into a second, but payments are handled in Landlord Ops with Leo. You can set the number of rent reminders, or late rent reminder notifications, which you can set them for every day as well afterwards. So it's like, well, if you're late, remind them every single day until they pay. And these are smart. Once they've paid, it doesn't remind them anymore. But you can set as many reminders as you want, as many days back going as you want. 7 days, 3 days, 1 day. And it just shows up to the tenant as an email. Hey, Trent Marco. I always figured if I had a fake ID, which I never did as a kid, the name Trent Marco sounded really good to me for some reason. I like the name Trent. Hey, this is a friendly reminder your rent payment is due. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dana. I like to add a little bit of entertainment in here because, I'm trying to empower you, but I also want you to have a great day. They get an email. The tenant has just a link that goes straight to their payment for that month. It has everything in there, all the information, as well as on every email they get, they also have their private link that goes to talk with Leo. They don't have to log into anything, they just get that information. They can go pay their rent right away. And once they've paid for that month, they don't get another email about it. If they haven't paid for that month, they keep getting emails about it. So also you have a record of that. That you can see your Leo dashboard. Like, hey, I've been reminding this guy. So when you go to ask Leo, hey, what's going on with Trent's payment, Trent Marco's payment, it says, well, I've been sending him reminders and he hasn't paid. The transaction hasn't been started. It's not even in that phase where, ACH transfers can take 3 to 5 business days. It's not even in that state. It's something where we're waiting for his payment. It's pending, before he's even done the transaction. It hasn't been submitted. So they'll keep getting emails like this. Nice, but firm. Hey, you got to pay. If you paid in other ways, let the landlord know, and we'll get into that in a second of why that's important. But all of these payments are done within Landlord Ops. This is all bank level security. These are business grade tools. I like to tell people I have a bone to pick with Venmo in general, but Zelle and Venmo were not built for this. They were not built for paying rent. You know what they were built for? Hey, John and I are going out for dinner. John paid for it. Here's 50 bucks, or maybe more like 70 bucks these days. You know, here's the money. That's what Zelle and Venmo are for. They're not for paying rent. These are not what these tools were built and designed for. They're going to make things harder later on when you're doing your taxes come tax time. I know some of you maybe haven't done your taxes. I'm not going to chastise anyone about that either. But it makes it harder. You make your CPA's life easier when you get to that. But these are business grade bank level tools available to you and available to these corporate PMs. They're using stuff like this too. Right now, they're kind of outworking you, outmaneuvering you because they have the right tools. All you need is the right tools. And these payments that are done through Landlord Ops, you can do it on mobile, you can do it on desktop. I'm showing you some stuff that's like phone screens and some stuff that's desktop screens. Everything is on both. They can pay their rent on their computer if they got one. They can pay their rent on their phone because they definitely have that. And all those payments are automatically reported or recorded in your dashboard. So when tax time comes, and we'll get to that in a minute too. That's the fun stuff, especially because, we're at the end of March and, tax deadline's coming up. You're never confused on the status of your tenant's rent payment. You always know when it's coming in, when it was submitted. You get emails of when it was submitted and emails when it clears. Hey, this was deposited successfully in your account, no matter what account it is. Do you have multiple LLCs because you have multiple units? Yeah, probably. Well, then you can have multiple bank accounts. You can have payments go into correct ones. Well, yeah, this unit needs to go into this bank account. That one needs to go into this one. Great. That can all be done within Landlord Ops. But yeah, Zelle and Venmo, not built for paying rent. But maybe you want to still handle your payment handling the way you've done it before. You can still do that. You still want people to pay their rents manually, not within Landlord Ops. You still want someone to be able to give you a check, or if you're doing things with cash, which I have heard some of that before, you can still do that and still record things in Landlord Ops. It's a simple two-click thing. Great. Just mark it as paid. Can Leo send tenant alerts based on temperature like freeze alert to discount hose? That's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one yet. So not yet, but that's something that could easily be added in. I like to tell Lois put this in the chat. Lois has some great questions. I hope I'm saying your name correct, by the way. Lois. Should be Lois, I think. Right, John? I think it's Lois. Um, I like to say I'm always working on stuff to add to Leo and Landlord Ops. The people who get the most attention are the people who are signed up. And I'll get into that in a minute too, but those are the people who, if they want something, I add it pretty immediately. Someone yesterday said they wanted a feature. It's literally almost done and going in tonight. Like that's how quickly things show up. And we'll get into kind of easy ways to get started and stuff like that. But this flexible payment handling, if you still want to handle rent payments manually, you still want someone to be able to pay with Zelle or Venmo, or they just end up paying you anyways that way. You can record that in Landlord Ops still. You can mark it as paid, so it's still in your ledger, it's still in your payments view when you are getting your tax data out, later in the year or pretty much now. You're still able to get that. It's got permanent audit logs for every manual entry because when tax time comes, don't give your CPA a whole bunch of receipts in a shoebox. They will pull out more of their hair than they probably have left. Uh, as someone who has not as much hair on top, I can tell you that's super stressful to have all that information in, and they're probably not going to love having you as a client if you're giving them a shoebox full of receipts. Actually, in this tax summary, this one-click Schedule E export tax packet stuff was designed in coordination with a good friend who's a CPA with Buyers Club, who I'm a vendor with, Peyton Gillis. And I showed this to Peyton. I said, Peyton, what do you think of this? And he said, Bryan, if my clients could give me this, I would save so much time every year. I wouldn't pull my hair out as much and I wouldn't have to talk so fast because he's a very fast talker if you know Peyton Gillis. He's great. He's a tax game plan. He's a wonderful CPA. Um, if you use him, tell him I said hello. But this is all stuff within Landlord Ops. One click tax packet. So when tax time comes, you're not scrambling to get your receipts all together. You're not scrambling to figure out, what were my expenses for this unit or that unit. It's all just right there. It's one click away. You get an Excel sheet straight out. Has all of the Schedule E export sections on it that your CPA is going to want or that you're going to use for whatever tax accounting software you're using. Make it real easy. Does this integrate with other PM softwares or Excel? So with Excel, yes. So yeah, you literally just get an Excel sheet directly out of it. David asked, does this system integrate with other PM softwares or Excel? For some questions, I'll wait till the end because we are kind of close to the end. But this is a good one, happy to answer this. You literally get an Excel sheet out. That XLSX, that's an Excel sheet file type. Like you're going to get literally an Excel sheet that goes right out. So not only does it integrate with other softwares in Excel, that is an Excel sheet. That is literally the file type that it uses. Other PM software is not directly, but it can work in conjunction with them. Like the leasing thing, for example, if you use Appfolio or Buildium, you could still do your leasing stuff from Landlord Ops. You could still use the DSCR calculator, the deal analyzer from Landlord Ops. So that stuff can work in concert. And there are a lot of landlords I know who use a bit of a, in the nicest way possible, a little bit of a hodgepodge solution. They're using these multiple different softwares to solve some things or another. As long as you're not putting post-it notes up on your computer screen, which I have seen that before, or one of my favorite responses was, "Oh, my wife knows all that." I mean, yeah, your wife knows a lot. Maybe keeping things in one place is a great thing to do in case anyone else needs to go through your information or help you get things together. But yes, you get a straight Excel sheet right out of here. So when tax time comes, you don't want to make your CPA any crazier than they already are because they're going crazy right now. It's a one click or white out on your screen. Oh boy. Bruce Stotler in all caps says, or whiteout on your screen. Have you actually seen whiteout on your screen? Like they wanted to get rid of something and they whited it out? I'd believe it. Sounds like a comedy sketch. I love it. So I talked to some other people. They say, well, I use this or I use that. Some people have just got stuff that's just in spreadsheets. I talked to a guy yesterday. He goes, I live in Excel. And I said, okay, probably not the most exciting life in the world, but Excel is great. You can do a lot there. Obviously, a lot of this automation's not there at all, but it's good for tracking stuff. You can import into Landlord Ops in 5 minutes. Take that information, take your rent roll, take your unit information, your doors, put it straight into Landlord Ops. Leo actually helps with getting that information in a way that makes sense for Landlord Ops, that then he's going to use later anytime there's an issue with a tenant, anytime there's an issue, for a prospective tenant through your leasing page or your listing page. Leo is there to help you coach that move to get you from that old system, which, it's 2026. We can do things a lot better now than we could even 2 years ago. We can do things a lot better now. And that rate of innovation, it's only increasing. So if you're doing stuff still the same as you did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I like to give the analogy, you've heard like Model Ts are in town, but we're still making horseshoes. It's like, yeah, there's always people who are going to want horseshoes because they've got horses, but we can do a lot of things better with automation, with automobiles. So why are we not doing them? And automobiles have only gotten better, worse in some ways, but better. I like a classic Mustang, but that's neither here nor there. So all this can be done with, just CSV file imports, just directly into Landlord Ops with Leo's assistance to get your data into there as quickly, as easily as possible. So it's not going to be a 5 hour or a 5 week or a 1 week or a 5 day thing. It's going to be something that can happen pretty quick. It's kind of fortuitous that this came up right now. We've been talking about how Landlord Ops prices are going up for the past 2 months since the beginning of February, and we're already close to the end of March. So actually, anytime you sign up with Landlord Ops, you get 1 month for free. But these prices are going up. Some of them are going up 3 times. Like the starter's 20 bucks a month right now. That's Netflix. That's like you paying for Netflix. And definitely doesn't provide you the same type of value for your rentals as Netflix does. Great entertainment, especially if you like Peaky Blinders, but which I've never seen, but I've heard it's good. But these rates are going to go up after March 31st. You sign up, you get 1 month for free. If you don't like it after 1 month, cancel it. I might ask you, hey, how could I make it better? But cancel it. If it goes one day or a couple days after 1 month and you say, oh, it charged me and I kind of forgot to cancel it, tell me. We'll refund it. I just want to build something of value for people, and that's what I've been doing. And that's what we're doing with landlords. So, unfortunately, prices got to go up because, everything in life's kind of going up. But for people who join now, these are the legacy rates that they keep. So if you got starter and all of a sudden you go up to pro because you've gone up over 2 units, you get that old pro price. You don't get this new pro price. But yeah, sign up 1 month free. That's my email address, Bryan at landlordops.com. I do have one last thing to share with you. I know we've been on for a while, and then I'm going to open it up for some more questions or some more stories about whiteout on the screen because I do want to know more of that story. I hope you didn't do that, Bruce, but no judgment. I want you to get your weekend back. And that's what I've been talking about this whole time, automation. So when someone is texting you at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or hopefully not 1 a.m., although I know it happens, you don't have to be that one single point of failure that if I don't respond immediately, things get worse, nothing happens, nothing moves. Happy to have you join Landlord Ops, 1 month free. Of course, I'm happy to help you get set up or answer any questions you might have. You can use this QR code to go directly to landlordops.com. Of course, it is just landlordops.com. You can type it in too. And another just kind of totally free, no strings attached thing on this right side here, we've got a whole interactive tax prep walkthrough that'll help you get your stuff together. Just ask you some questions like, hey, what are your units? All right, what's your, rental income? What's your expenses? And you can break it down by categories. And at the end of it, you can have it emailed to you, so you always have it, or you can download it right away and it'll give it to you in that Excel sheet, the same Excel sheet format that works with Excel that was there with the Schedule E export. The only difference is since you don't have your information in Landlord Ops, since you don't have your rent payments there, your expenses there, your units, your tenants there, it's not a one-click thing, unfortunately. But you don't have to be logged in for it. It's just a go on interactive walkthrough for your 2025 tax prep. And that's just landlordops.com/tax dash prep. I'm happy to put that in the chat too. So happy to answer any questions. This is the last slide of the deck. It was a lean and colorful 33 slides. Thank you all for being here with me today. I'm sure being inside is a bit better than being outside right now. But is there any questions? Anything you can answer? We got about a good 9 minutes here. Although John's a little 1 minute ahead of me, so maybe it's 8 minutes.
I have a question.
Hey, John, what's up?
Uh, on late fees, are you able to charge a late fee per day, or is it only like a one sum, like after the fifth, it's a certain amount?
Yes, you can charge late fees really with whatever rhythm you want to. So yeah, you could do it by day, you could do it by 5 days, you could do it by X amount of days, where X is any number. We got Dana, or I don't know where James is, but is James all right?
Yeah, he's at work, so we're on two different devices. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, good morning, or afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions. One was I see several things
I'm listening.
that would be very helpful and useful for us. But being that I'm not real tech savvy, and sometimes it could be overwhelming to do so
Mhm.
many things at once. Is it possible to kind of start with, maybe one or two things and then gradually implement others as for those of us that are not as savvy with, just dashing into everything? Because that has happened in the past with us in different
Mm.
programs. They had a wide array of things that was offered, and you have to pay for all of that. And we were
Mhm.
only using like one thing and barely using that.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, what is the support like as far as if you get stuck or need some help with something, in the midst of your transactions or whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
how is the support?
Perfect. So great questions. Number one, go Cards. I see you got a Cardinals hat on, and I am legally obligated as being a born and raised resident of St. Louis to support the Cardinals no matter what. So I just want to make sure I get that legal obligation out of the way. Um, I still call it New Busch Stadium. So if that tells you anything about, it's still New Busch Stadium to me. So Dana, as far as support goes, you can have my personal phone number. That email goes directly to me. Anytime you send any type of support question or anything, actually through the app, through the website, there is at all times in the bottom left corner, there's a little feedback module. Basically, you open that, type in what's going on, and it'll get sent directly to me. So, support, I tend to respond as long as I'm not asleep. I respond pretty quick. If it's something you want to be able to contact me directly, phone number, you can call me. Yeah, as far as getting set up or get things going, game it. Bruce likes to type in all caps, and so it's very drawing to me. Game at 3:15 p.m. on Cardinals.tv. I use caps; it's easier to read. All right. So with Landlord Ops, every subscription tier has access to all of the features. You can use as many or as little of them as you would like. If you don't want to use listings, you don't have to use listings. If you don't want to use the DSCR um, checker, the deal analyzer, you don't have to use that either. So, and as far as like getting set up or getting things going, I'm happy to do setup to help you get going. If you have any questions at any time, I mean, you see me every week on the Friday calls with John where I'm making bad jokes, but I'm also available, via email or via phone call to answer any questions or get you going. I also tend to keep an eye on stuff in general. So if there's really something going on, like, there are some, I don't have a lens into everyone's, personal private information, obviously, but if there is something that goes awry, I see it pretty quickly. So
Okay.
I
Now,
probably see
and
it
how
quicker
long
than
would,
you might see it.
okay. And how long would, okay, do you have like, as far as your support, is it
Mhm.
like 6 months of, free support, a year, because
It's
a lot of things have like so much time as far as
uh,
the support.
if you need support, I'll support you. There's no time delineation on it. There's no time limit. Dana, if you say I need help with X, Y, or Z, I want you to get that help. I will help you do that. Yeah, yeah. Because my goal is to get it to a point where I am a fan of automation, obviously. Um, I want that to be automated away where the point where you don't have that problem anymore. That's the whole point of me building this. Um, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so
Perfect.
much. I didn't know if James had some questions as well.
Well, before I jump to John here, I don't know if James does. I see James, you good? I got two other questions. I got John and
Can you
David.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
You'll have to be
This,
after.
this is.
okay. I was
Let
thinking
him
with like,
know.
you got the cards hat, why did Tony La Russa wear sunglasses all the time? It's because the future was so bright. Anyways, I think we got John Collins first. See, John, I can also make bad jokes too. Um, not bad, corny joke, dad jokes. John, what can I help you with?
Yeah, and I don't know if you had mentioned this. Because I had stepped away earlier for a minute. But
Mhm.
if when a tenant pays, like through the ACH or whatever, how long has it been typically between the time they pay and then it would like hit my account?
Yeah, so very good question. I think I mentioned this a little bit, but there's a lot of stuff, so I don't blame you at all, John. ACH transfers tend to take 3 to 5 business days. That's something. I mean, that's just the ACH gods out there. That's not a thing we can really adjust or change, but it also depends on the bank. There's also sometimes, banks are very sensitive to fraud these days. So if there's any type of like potential fraud thing that they flag, it could take a little bit longer, but generally 3 to 5 business days. And you're able to see when that transaction was submitted. So you'll know right away. You won't just be waiting, oh, did this actually get submitted or not? And then once it clears, you'll be able to see, hey, this transaction cleared successfully. This is going to your account. And that'll be updated automatically in your dashboard, anyways. So you'll get multiple ways to know about it. And Leo will know about it too. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. You're very welcome, John. Even though you don't have an H in your name, you're still a great John. I know John Lee's got the JOHN. We got David Simon here. We are at like 2 minutes. So, David, what's up?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Fantastic. Okay, I had a question. I've been doing this for quite some time as far as property manage. We do have properties out of state. We have other managers
Yep.
managing for us. So I'm sure this can integrate with that. My other question is just a follow-up, just the waste of time of going over and over with like bids and contractors and fixing this and having this going out. Could this be also something that could handle that as far as the constant phone call backs and you miss this person, that person to follow up with maybe some repairs or some got to buy
Mhm.
this stuff. This is what we, just kind of all the details of a problem.
Yeah. So, if I can just kind of echo that back, make sure I understand. You're talking about when there are issues and you want to get bids from a bunch of different vendors, you want to make sure you're doing it for, you know, affordably and with the best people, especially if you're out of state, I can understand that. So right now, that's actually something we've been working on. By we, I mean me. As far as bidding out, and right now it's kind of bring your own vendor, bring your own contractor, bring your own plumber. But that is something we're actively working on is being able to solicit a bunch of bids from people in the area, based on Google reviews, who's the best. who's the top, and then picking from those and having Leo do a lot of that back and forth. So, not at the moment, but I mean, again, I prioritize stuff based on who needs it, who's signed up. Like that's really how I get things done. So, you pay nothing for 1 month. I promise you in that month it'll come in. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just spent just a lot of time back and forth, and I'm trying to get my business done, and it's like this
Yep.
stuff keeps coming back. It's frustrating.
Yeah, especially if you're out of state. Where's your stuff? Are you in Missouri or where are you?
No, I'm in California, and the properties are in Florida, so coast to coast.
Wow, as you went as far as you could, almost. You went as far east as you could. Well, I used to live in California a little bit. I lived in Los Angeles, and then I was talking to John. I lived up in Lake Arrowhead, if you know Lake Arrowhead. Where
Oh
are
yeah, I
you?
go skiing up there
Oh yeah, well you up in
when
Big
there's
Bear.
snow. Yeah,
Well, you remember when there was that 10 feet of snow over the course of like 4 days or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah, I lived there during that. It
nice.
was yeah, yeah, nice. It was yeah, that's one way to. I like to tell people I watched all of the Expendables movies, and there were only three at the time, so that was one day. And now there's four. And then what did I do for the rest of the 21 days I was trapped in my house and couldn't go anywhere? 21 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I mostly just worked on stuff. So yeah, uh, California to Florida. Wow. Yeah, going up to Big Bear. I've spent some time up there. Snow Summit, Big Bear proper, obviously. I remember when the lake levels were so low that lakefront properties were no longer lakefront properties. I hope that's changed now. But I lived in Lake Arrowhead, a nice, beautiful private lake, um, and very well managed. So as far as the kind of, coast to coast being able to do things remotely, yeah, I can see saving time, not needing to do all this back and forth. Happy to talk with you more about it if you want to get my email address here, or I'll get your email from John. We'll get it from the listing attendees, and I'm happy to share these slides as a workbook for everybody. I'm going to send that along to people. So if you took notes, that's great. If you didn't take notes, well, you're way ahead of the game also, and I'm going to send you all these slides as a workbook via email.
I
I think we got.
appreciate that. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. Well, fellow skier. Um, I'm a snowboarder. Don't hold it against me. Uh, Dana, we got a question from you. We are a couple minutes past time. If you got to hop off, I totally understand. But
Actually, I had it up for James because I know he didn't know
oh,
how to do that on his phone, and I think he had a question.
okay. What's up, James?
No, I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Well, I did have one quick question, and
Okay.
that's as far as when you're in the process of interviewing people or going through that process before you accept them as a tenant,
Mhm.
can this play a role in that?
Yes, yes. So when you're doing like qualifying them based on, well, number one, sharing some information with them to make sure they know, hey, no pets allowed. Hey, only this number of occupants, but also asking questions of them like, hey, what's your income? What's your credit score like? Getting all that basic information, including additional questions you might ask. Are you a smoker? Yeah, you can do all of that. That's through the listing pages. So you could just send them to that page and say, instead of me going back and forth with you, you can do this at any time. Here's this link. Here's all the information for you. Talk to Leo. Leo can do the back and forth with you. And when they're done with it, James, you get all that information. You get the whole interview, the whole back and forth, the whole transcript. That goes to you. So, yes, that's a long way
Oh,
of me
okay.
saying
All
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Is
Great.
that a
All right.
is that
Thanks.
in that case, would there be like a list of questions that they answer, or is it like them talking back and forth? Um,
So you provide a list of questions if you want to Leo. Additionally, there are the kind of default questions that everybody normally asks. So that stuff's already handled. And if Leo, if you tell Leo to ask some of those questions too, even if it's something that's already been asked, he'll be like, all right, well, that's already been covered. But you can ask additional ones too. So I showed it very, very briefly. Maybe I didn't.
I
I
mean,
just
it's
showed it.
not going to be like recorded. Anything that they're recording. This is all written, correct?
This is all written, yeah. So you would get the whole chat transcript. It's sent to you as an email when they are setting up a tour, which you can set specific times and dates. Oh, only Tuesdays from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. If you wanted to do that, you could. If you wanted to set different days of the week and, oh, you can only set up tours on these days, then you can do that too. But yeah, when they do that, I'll jump back real fast here just to show it. Let's see here. Here we go. So that whole transcript is given to you here. So this is John Bon Jovi, national American hero, talking to Leo, our AI assistant. Leo's asking these questions. Hey, do you have pets? What's your credit score? What's your monthly income? What's your phone number? And these are just the default questions. You can do a whole lot more than just this. But I like to show, hey, you can ask questions, and then Leo ends with prompting them for, hey, what time do you want to tour the place? These are the times the landlord has available. So,
Okay.
short answer, yes.
That's something that could be in the works for the future as far as them recording. Because one thing I've learned about tone is everything. The way people would respond, where you couldn't get that on a transcript,
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just out of curiosity. I was wondering. All right.
Yeah, right now it is all text-based, but I can see what you mean. Leo could always prompt them to record a short message, because you want to make sure you got the right people, obviously, as your
Right.
tenants. I
Okay.
know we're a bit over. I'm happy to answer another question, but we are 6 minutes over, and John is is a stickler for time, as he told me
Thank you
earlier.
so much.
Of course, thank you. I think that's all, John. Do you wanna
Well,
see us out?
appreciate you covered a lot. I know it's hard to get in, and that's one reason we wanted to have a special event for you, Brian. We appreciate that. We will get the recording out. It might be a day or two before that, and appreciate you wanting to send out this as a workbook too, because I know a lot of us, we take good notes, but we still need to go back and we can do a little better. I do appreciate you bringing up my cousin Bruce because we go way back,
Yeah.
and you thought of our other cousin, our CPA, seriously. And it does a good job with that. And then you did not bring up the other one though, jokingly. So,
Oh, yeah.
so no, we do appreciate all that, Brian. You covered a lot of good stuff today, and thank you very much. I mean, this is good for a lot of people, and I could really see helping all of us with that. So we definitely appreciate it.
Well, thank you, John. As always, you're the king of jokes, and I'm just learning one day at a time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll see y'all, I guess, tomorrow. We got networking tomorrow, so we will be back soon. Go Cardinals.
Go Cards.
All right. Thanks.